Hey everybody, today I'm going to be diving into this, our White Peony Experience Flight Box, the best way to get an educational understanding of the differences between white peonies by comparing and tasting. This forms part of our series. We've also got a Silver Needle Experience Box, but I'll be doing a video about that next week. Right, let's dive into this baby. The White Peony Flight Box and the Silver Needle Flight Box contain 3 teas with well over 100 brews in each, so you can do plenty of sessions. This is an example of one session. Here you have the 3 teas, including one exclusive White Peony that isn't available for sale outside of the Flight Box. Here's the scope information. Important information differences here, right? So they are all 2019 teas. However, this one here, because it's an open pluck, which means you're using more of these large leaves, it's slightly later picking. The cultivar, these 2 here are the same cultivar, Fuding Dabai. This one here is Zhenghe Dabai, so you can compare cultivars within this flight box. Similarly, the origin, these are from Fuding, actually from the same supplier, and this one is from Zhenghe, so you can work out the different style in which they pick and process in these different areas. The picking, clearly very, very different. This one here is an open pluck, including some of those larger leaves. These 2 here are much more fine pluck, with this one being the most ultra fine pluck. Very, very, very fine bud and very young leaves. Here's bud in one leaf, but slightly bigger, and here's the larger leaves. The elevation difference between this one and these 2 is about 400 meters, so 650 meters to 1,000 meters. All of these factors are going to come to play a part when we discern the difference in the taste. Now, if you're watching this along with tasting your flight box, then I'm going to go through this much quicker. Please feel free to pause, take your time, really enjoy, savor, and immerse yourself in this experience. First up, Eyes Dry Leaf. You can see clearly here that this is a lot more open pluck using these larger leaves, which is why it's later plucked in the year, versus these 2 which are much finer, a bud and one leaf. But also you can see that the Fuding Dabai variety is much furrier, much hairier compared to the Zhenghe Dabai. Also note that the density of this, these are all 3 grams, and yet this looks like the least amount of tea, and that shows you that these buds are thicker, denser, and just have more body about them. Now that could be due to the altitude, because this is higher altitude, therefore it's going to be slower growing, and therefore it's going to have more density in the bud material. But clearly you can see difference in color as well. The Zhenghe is produced a lot greener. Now the Zhenghe style of processing is one that is on very thin layers. They oxidize on very thin layers and wither on thin layers, and that means it will dry out quicker, which means it stays more green than the Fuding varieties, where they allow it to oxidize in slightly thicker piles, and that means that you get darker oxidation in general. Right, let's get on with aroma. Okay, leaves are in the Gaiwan. I've heated the Gaiwans up, so this is Nose Dry Leaf, open pluck. I'm getting noisettes and nuttiness, but I'm also getting a tang to it, sort of a fruity tang, blackcurrant, blackberries, red currants, a little bit of a tang, and that comes from the larger leaves. If we smell and compare that, so same producer but different picking, much more nougat, a little bit more herbal, a bit more meadowy, a little bit more hay, just higher echelon aromas, lighter, more elegant. Compare that to the Zhenghe. See, the Zhenghe, interesting because it looks very green, but it has almost sort of, it has a bright aroma, but it's a little bit more malty, a bit more rocky, saltier in terms of the rockiness, which is interesting because Fuding is closer to the coast, and I know that generally the taste of Fuding teas tend to be saltier, but the aroma here just has a slightly more savory note happening. I did make a typo on the letter that you may have received with your flight box. Zhenghe is not closer to the coast. So if you see that written, that's not the case. I meant that Fuding teas taste saltier. But the aroma of the Zhenghe, for me, has more of that rocky sea salt note happening. Okay, nose wet leaf. Deep, rich, filling, satisfying aroma. Warm, but with a woody quality and a slight medicinal quality. And you pick that up even more in the fine pluck. I'm getting more of those medicinal notes. What do I mean? I mean like root beer, wintergreen, camphor, those style of notes. Very, very interesting to compare these back to back. Just to smell what the larger leaves contribute. Now don't forget, this is slightly later picked as well, so it's been picked maybe about 2 weeks after this one, but very different, much more vegetal versus this one, which is more sort of bright with some of those camphor wintergreen notes. And this one here is black pepper, really peppery and spicy, almost chili-like. And I'm getting some fruit as well, a little bit of that sort of rosehip or black currant aroma. Okay, let's brew these up. Okay, we brewed them up. Right, let's start with the open pluck. Cheers, everybody. And we're going to compare texture. This one is thick, but it's not. It's got a slight grip to it. Whereas this is thicker and softer. So immediately what we're noticing is the effect that the larger leaves have. The larger leaves are going to bring out more of that strength and more of that astringency on the finish. It's not dry, I would say. It's still a soft tea, but it definitely has a little bit more grip. Taste-wise as well, bringing out more vegetal notes in here. But I love that. I love that taste, and this is something that I think is a matter of preference. Do you like your Mu Dan teas, your white peony teas, to have a bit more of that green, leafy note, or do you want it to be very, very light and elegant? This one here is more honeyed, more malty, more of those sort of sugary, sweet marzipan notes that come from bud material. Delicious. All of them are delicious. Now, this one here, the Zhenghe, is very different, much more bracing, much brighter. Now, I wouldn't say it's brighter as in it's as green as this one. The brightness is more, it's more fresh and peppery, like salad, like rocket or arugula. It's got that very sort of bright, peppery greenness versus more of a leafy, vegetative greenness. Yum. Let's talk about finish. So while they all have very soft, relatively thick texture, the finish on the open pluck definitely has more of a sharp end. You feel like you get this crescendo of taste and then it ends in a sort of relatively fast way. I mean, you still get some lingering sweetness, but it is definitely shorter. And this is where the finer pluck teas start to represent their picking, because you get more of an extended finish. It feels soft and then starts to build up sort of a sensation or a sort of tingling note, and it just lasts longer and is sweeter. And that's probably one of the reasons why, you know, more fine plucked white peonies are more expensive, apart from the fact that obviously there's a larger cost of production because you need to have more pickings to make 100 grams of tea. Which do you prefer? Which is your favorite Mu Dan? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested because I flip between them. Sometimes I want something with a bit more green and a bit more strength. Sometimes I want something that is smoother, softer, a little bit more nutty, and a little bit longer. And this one here, this Zhenghe, is really interesting me because it's just got this pepperiness, it's got this sort of fresh piquancy, which I really, really love. I hope that you explore this box in much greater detail than I've done in this video. Read the notes, really dive in, figure out your favorites, and learn through experience. That's the point of these boxes, so that you can really build up your expertise in any single type of tea just by comparative tasting. I'll see you at the next video.